Welcome to Thoughts on the Market. I'm Ellen Zentner, Morgan Stanley's chief U.S. economist. Along with my colleagues bringing you a variety of perspectives, today I'll take a closer
the rise of the SHEconomy. And this is from 2019.
Look at women's role in the economy and the impact they could have.
So that's the numbers that they're talking about. And then they have their projections for 2030, which is when it's just going to be total anti-whiteism. And they're just as happy as larks. White males are going to be completely gelded, completely ruined in the West, well, in the United States in particular. And that's it. They're so excited about it.
Have over the next decade. It's Friday, October 20th at 10 a.m. in New York. Last week, Harvard economist Claudia Goldin won the Nobel Prize for her work identifying the causes of wage and labor market inequality. Not only is her work notable for its subject matter, it is also because Claudia is the first woman to win the Nobel in economics by herself. In other words,
it's always going to be like she's the first woman that won, because other women have won. And it's just to batter white males with. That's all it is, to batter. It's going to be, the next one will be the first woman to win the Nobel Prize that was also a karate teacher. It's just going to be whatever they can come up with. Never ends. And then when you look back, like you look back at the Nobel Prize winners, do this with everything. When they say this is the first, go back and see if anybody else was doing it.
Work has included the role of contraception in helping women with family and career planning, something we've studied as well. The rise of what we have dubbed the SHEconomy is a topic we at Morgan Stanley Research first covered.
The SHEconomy. They didn't name that one all that good.
In 2019 and continue to follow closely. First, some context. Today, women are having fewer children and earning more bachelor's degrees than men.
2019. Women are earning more bachelor degrees than men.
The median marriage. Today, women are having fewer children and earning more bachelor's degrees than men. The median marriage age for women has increased, as has the age at which we first start bearing children.
So women are having, if they have children, they're having fewer and later in life, which everybody has to admit, the older the lady, the worse the kids. I mean, the eggs are fresher when she's younger and staler when she's older. I mean, that's, you want to object to that? You want to be bent out of shape? It's a fact of nature. All right. And how many of you out there have seen, I mean, let's get an amen. How many of you out there have seen these women who are older with Down syndrome or some other kind of horribly handicapped children? I mean, they're everywhere. And you might want to say, well, that's because of a vaccine maybe, or because of, hey, when you're spitting out kids, when you're much older and later in life, it doesn't always work well. That's why they call it geriatric. Isn't that the word they use for it?
These shifting lifestyle norms are enabling more women to work full time, which should continue to increase participation in the labor force.
Oh, so it's so good. You know, and all the libertarians and conservatives out there, well, I love them. You all have to give that shit up and come over here before it's too late, before you get hit in the head by a leg that some sort of border crosser, some sort of intruder bats you up against the side of the, smashes your, could you imagine that? The intruder, the criminal intruder from Honduras knocks you out with a human leg that he's eating, and then rapes you and then eats you as well. Just consumes your whole body. But yeah, I mean, this should be better, right? Women in the workforce. I mean, the economy, God economy, everybody bow.
Among single females. In 2019, we estimated that the number of single women in the U.S. would grow 1.2% annually through 2030, and that compares with 0.8% for the overall population.
So, number of single women, of course, females are being taught in the anti-white narrative to think of white males as a joke, without question. I mean, almost 100% of white females think that white males are a joke. They've been taught that their entire life. They've seen that in all of the entertainment media. And so it's just narrows right down to the impossibly tiny number of the most pretty guys out there that they will give themselves over to. Not all, but we have to look at reality. And any woman that would get perturbed by this information is demonstrating that women being in charge of everything, not such a good idea, not such a good plan.
Based on these calculations, by 2030, 45% of prime working age women will be single, the largest share in history. Now, data show that single women outspend the average household.
So prime, what's prime? 20 to 50. By 2030, right around the corner, I told you all, this decade was it for us. They're saying that half of the women between 20 and 50 will be single. And they'll be working and they'll be rolling in the dough. If they're working, they have the money, they're buying the houses, then, and why would they marry? Why bother? They're told that the right thing to do is to be a girl boss. And we got more data on this. I mean, it's bad. It's real bad. But by all means, continue to watch other content creators out there that are doing the same old.
And are the principal shoppers in more than 70% of households. So women are very powerful economic agents. They contribute an estimated $7 trillion to U.S. GDP per year. They are the breadwinners in nearly 30% of married households and nearly 40% of total U.S. households.
Breadwinner in 2019.
In the last decade, single prime working age women from 30 to 34 years old have seen the most pronounced rise in female headship rates, and that's followed by 25 to 29-year-olds. Now, if we look back,
are you hearing this research? Women, head of the house. If you thought it was bad, and really coming from me, I really got to tell you, for decades, I've been living my life to bring people into white sympathy. And the vast majority who are willing to be interested and to come and have a look and participate some have, until I was able to get on the internet, have been males. And the females in their lives may have not worked at all. They may have been, so in other words, no economic power over them, but because they had the legal and social power, they were able to say, you can't participate anymore. I can't tell you the number of times that I had guys told by their mothers, their sisters, their girlfriends, their wives, even their daughters, that they can't participate anymore. What's it going to be like when not only do they have the domination in sexual domination and social domination, legal domination, but now economic domination? What's it going to be like?
Back as far as 1985, female home ownership as a share of total home ownership has risen from 25% to 50%. And our projections suggest that with rising female labor force participation and further closing of the wage gap, female home ownership should rise as well. Closing of the wage. Of course, we know that's another meme pathogen. It's another anti-white concept that is completely bogus. And you can't touch it. And when you disprove it, they just will call you a misogynist and a racist and everything else. So you've seen that everywhere they do it. Everywhere, government level, in actual hearings. I saw one the other day from Australia. In actual hearings, they disprove it, and then they come away from them. They're like, well, it's just a misogynistic, patriarchal, needs to be pulled down, white male again. So it's like I told you, the last white man on earth, if we don't win the day, the last white man on earth will be known as the racist right before they kill him. Well, the last, if you're
dealing with Morgan Stanley and anti-whites who otherwise, a lot of feminists of the anti-white variety who push the wage gap. They'll be pushing it to well beyond white males making far less. They'll still be pushing it. It won't matter what the reality is. It won't matter what the data says.
So the profile of the average American woman is also changing, whereas the average American woman in 2017 was white, married, and in her 50s.
Okay, so this is another thing to pay attention to. The average profile, white, married, and 50s. The future is, the average is going to be non-white, female, and unmarried.
50s, holding a bachelor's degree and employed in education or health services. We think that by 2030, she is more likely to be younger, single, and a racial minority, holding a bachelor's degree and employed in business and professional services. Indeed, over the last several years, gender diversity, the male-female wage gap, and women's role in the workplace have rightly been a key media and social topic, and something that we at Morgan Stanley are very passionate about. And for women, these public discussions have set the stage for equality in areas like education, professional advancement, income growth, and
it's always the meme path. This is why I put a prohibition 20 years ago on using anti-white concepts, because of how detrimental it is to our thinking, to defending ourselves, to representing ourselves, to talking about our victimization. And for doing that, or at least one of the reasons, absolutely blocked out of sharing the work that I did, the successes that we had. Don't you tell me what I can say or not say, Jason. Well, how about you? Because I don't want to go down to the perdition that you're headed toward. I don't want to go to that place. I don't want to go to perdition town. I'm smart enough to see that you don't use here they are saying divert. And then you'll see the academic peacocks in the white sympathetic circles. They'll use diversity to talk about these things. They'll use that concept.
Consumer buying power. We've come a long way, but it's important to underscore that more work remains to be done.
It never ends. We've come a long way, but it just never ends.
Ahead, women are in a position to drive the economic conversation from both the inside as a workforce propelling company performance and the outside as consumers powering discretionary spending and GDP. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it.
Already 2019, they were talking about 70% control of spending in the American household is held by women. So this is the research, the SHEconomy. I just want to share a few things here. Rise of the SHEconomy. By 2030, 50% of prime working age women in the U.S. will be single. So prime working age, 20 to 50. We take a closer look at how single women spend at the impact this could have over the next decade. Findings reveal large potential tailwinds to apparel and footwear, personal care. I mean, just go ahead and fit into as a rubric for this, frivolous spending. Just go ahead and put that in there. I mean, doggy bathing suits, clothes for pets, that's going to go through the roof. Just clothes for any frivolous, nonsensical bullshit. It's going to have shit tons of money spent on it. Hire shoppers to do your shopping for you. So people to pick up your groceries, to buy you clothing, and then to drive them or mail them to your house. Everything that's frivolous and makes life softer and softer and increasingly pathetic and wimpy, all of that is going to increase. But don't think if you're a white man, oh, well, I'm going to get ahead of this and I'm going to make money off it. Bullshit. You're not going to be able to compete with the firms that they decide to dump the millions of dollars into. Personal care, food away from home, and luxury and electric vehicles. And take a look at this team. And this will be the kind of guys, by the way. Look at these So it's going to be like all female. And then the kind of guys, I don't know if you can see them there, will be guys that females feel safe with. So if he looks like he's 12, and if he's soft like he's a 12-year-old, even though 12, I was a hard motherfucker, then the females will be okay, and that'll be the males that will be elevated. I mean, this is going to go so bad. This is going to go so bad. But by all means, keep supporting all of the other ways. Keep giving. I mean, not you all that are here, but out there, keep giving the big money to the next guy that's going to get elected, or give money to the Jay Spurgeon, give money to the Nazi LARPing, give money to the next Tea Party Patriots, or whatever it's going to be. Keep giving your money to that shit so we can have more of this. I want to be, when I'm being totally destroyed by these demonically empowered females, I want to have like mestizos beating me over the head with severed legs that they're eating. I mean, that specific guy. I want him. I'm sure he'll be freed. Just like, did you all hear all of those guys that ran over the National Guard, punched them in the face, and everything? They were all released by a mestizo judge, an anti-white mestizo judge. They said, oh, you can't hold them. Your laws, white man, we'll just use these against you. Anti-white as all hell. We take a closer look at how single women spend and the impact this could have over the next decade. All right. So let me just read a couple of the what media and social focus on diversity, the male-female wage gap, and women's role in the economy is increasing. In response, we've attempted to quantify expected changes in women's economic status and assess the potential impact on consumer discretionary spending over the next 10 years. Okay, so let me just jump through some of this, and we can keep rolling. Based on Census Bureau data, we calculate that single women in the U.S. will grow by 1.2% annually, and which is an increase over what it's been. Let me just jump. Get to some of these that you'll find really fun. We find the past drivers of the male-female wage gap have diminished, while drivers of the, I can't even believe they're admitting that, while drivers of the current wage gap are moving in a favorable direction. So they just called a wage gap in favor of women favorable. This institution is giving hundreds of millions of dollars, directing the investments, hundreds of millions of dollars. When women become mothers, they may stop working or work fewer hours, and their focus on work may diminish as they pick up responsibilities that come with having a family. Estimates of women's pay relative to men's vary, but data, so that's the whole thing also, of course, when it comes to the collecting of data. There's no way to compare apples and apples, oranges and oranges. We expect the wage gap will continue to close as firms reward diversity. As firms fire, demote, and refuse to promote and not hire white males. That's the translation. So all you white females out there, you got sons, you got fathers, you got husbands, you got brothers. But spending will be driven by the fact that women are delaying marriage and childbearing. from the SHEconomy to HERS, HERS as an acronym. Diverse companies outperform. Our quantitative research team, in collaboration with Morgan Stanley ESG Research, recently published a report looking at how gender diverse firms tend to outperform their less diverse peers globally, and have developed a proprietary framework, the Holistic Equity Representation Score. So in other words, we will tell you what companies to invest millions of dollars in, the most anti-white companies, so that we can have this data that shows that the companies with the fewest number of white men do the best. Neat little trick they play there, isn't it? In all developed MSCI regions, boards are more diverse now than at the end of 2010. Gender diversity in the executive ranks continues, unfortunately, to lag by the comparison, although the past decade has seen improvement. So they want to put more women in charge. How many times have you read these articles? If you pay attention at all to business, you'll know, where they say, we got this new CEO coming, and this new, she's amazing. This one, she's amazing. Just wait till you see how, what, the company is bankrupt? That happened fast. MRI data shows that women are the principal shoppers in 72% of households and tend to have a larger multiplier effect on expenditures. So they love this. They love all the frivolous spending. They love all the, upsales that, or up buys, I guess, from the buyer point of view, that men won't do, that women will. When women shop, they are often purchasing for the household members in addition to themselves. The position of principal shopper also gives women more control over how household money is spent. Today, women are the primary breadwinner. Remember, this is from 2019. Women are the primary breadwinner for nearly 30% of households headed by a married couple, and 40% of total U.S. households. Within households where men are still the primary breadwinner, the proportion of women contributing between 25 to 50% of the household's income. So that's called co-breadwinner. So you're seeing it happen. It's like with, if you want to think about it in a way that is productive, you can think about how things change in society as maybe something akin to like rain running down the outside of the window. There isn't a spot where the window is dry and a spot where the window is wet. You see speckles across the glass, and then streams will run down. And then if water keeps coming, it eventually will be a sheet of water. That's the finish. That's when the change is done. So with everything in social dynamism, it happens this way. So what you're seeing 2019 and up to the present, and what they're predicting by 2030 is you seeing these streaks running down the windows, more and more an environment where females now also wield economic power over the men in their lives, if they have men in their lives at all. Women are generally thought to control large portions of household spending regardless of their income. So an estimate based solely on income contribution could be conservative. Because women now contribute significantly more to household income than previous generations and remain the primary shopper for most households, their influence has grown in nature and degree. So we had an environment where men, white men, were going out. They were the breadwinner. They made the money. And since the people in the employment pool, the number was lower, the men were paid better relative to the cost of goods and services. The wife typically stayed home and she took the money that became theirs. By the way, that's another big difference. As females become the big breadwinner, they have separate accounts from their husbands. Or if it's, unmarried but boyfriend and girlfriend forever, they still have separate accounts. In the past, it was absolutely sacrilegious to imagine that the man's money was just his. It wasn't hers. It was always considered hers as well. Well, now that you've had this shift, females are not, no, they're not of the same mind as guys are. They're like, the guy feels like his wife is his, and then the children is his, and he's got to take care of them and provide for them. The woman, on the other hand, feels like the kids are hers, and she's got to take care of them. So the money she makes is not her husband's. Even though you're seeing increasing and far more number of women make more money than their boyfriend or husband in the relationship. So now you have a scenario where the woman is the primary spender and she's the primary earner. Well, the man is not going to be allowed to be the primary spender. That I can promise you guys. There's absolutely no way she's going to give over the spending of her money that she's earning. No way. In fact, we see everywhere you look on the internet, you see females counseling other females to have separate accounts, to never mingle the funds, and etc. Or even if they do have a joint account, have a separate account that either he knows about or is secret. Most strikingly, female headship rates have been trending up, while overall headship rates have been trending down. These contrasting trends are rather prominent among the critical younger age cohorts, as they are the key drivers of housing demand. The most pronounced rise in female headship rates in the last decade is among single, prime working age women. So, single women, prime working age, buying the houses. That means you get to live in her place as long as you obey. It was always when men and women owned, and that was another thing in the past. When the man worked and he bought a house, the norm was that the woman was also the purchaser of the house. Well, forget about that with ladies in charge. The share of non-family female households has risen over the last decade. So there's full of graphs here. Female headship rates among single prime working age women has risen. Though home ownership rates for both women and men have topped out since 2005, our demographic projections suggest that with rising female labor force participation and closing of the wage gap, female homeowner spending should rise as well. And of course, we've seen that. We just saw last month or the month before, we looked at the data on home ownership by women. Women are buying the houses. There's been growth in the number of women in positions of power, both politically and economically, though that growth is not necessarily directly tied to broader shifts in women's status. Today, women make up 25% of Congress, compared to about 2% in 1970. And more women than ever before now populate the business world's upper echelons as CEOs and board members of companies. While the relationship between the timing and pace of these gains and gains for the broader women's population are unclear, the trend does indicate shifting attitudes and norms surrounding women in positions of power and influence. Well, not here, because I'm sane. I mean, how many guys have experienced? I had another video, but I'm just going to move along. How many guys have experienced being in a relationship with a woman and she comes to you and this is bothering her, that's bothering her? It might be work, it might be with friends, it might be health, it might be family, whatever it is. And then as guys, we, to various degrees of ability or inability, want to just resolve a problem, right? And then the guy goes to make a suggestion about how to fix it, and the woman comes unglued. She doesn't want a remedy. She just wants to be heard and felt and everything. Do you really think politics and business and etc. and male-female relationships are going to work well with that mentality? Amandy Joe is here. Hello and welcome. Ivan the Horrible is here. Hello and welcome. My brother Stumbling has stumbled in. Hello to you and welcome. All right, let's see what else we have, and we'll move on to the next. So you can see here as I go through, they got lots of pretty graphs. And very easy to find this, the Morgan Stanley SHEconomy, to find it online. Apparel and footwear, restaurants, all these things, autos. Are going to be making more money. And what does that also tell you about the voting patterns to come? Like, as long as I can get my, manicure, pedicure, the luxury soft car, the softy body blanket, the super soft couch that I can disappear in, a teddy bear to hug, 5,000 pairs of shoes. I mean, I'm good then, right? I'm good. The world is good. Just don't get in the way of those things. I mean, how many times do we need to have research? And you see this when it comes to a lot of investment firms and businesses, and they research these spending habits of men and women. And the research comes back and shows that women are always concerned with like the comfort, the immediate comfort, the here and now. And males are more concerned with the longevity and how efficacious is the thing. And so all sales is organized this way. But for some reason, when we get to politics, it's like, how dare you say there's a difference of view of long range and short range view? How dare you contemplate that? Are you kidding me? Shut the fuck up. Everything when it comes to life. The men are like, what's the efficacy? And of course, this is the norm, not every single individual. But the men are like, how efficacious is it? How well does it work? How long is it going to last? Doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be cuddly. It doesn't have to be soft. It doesn't have to be all of this. It's got to secure for the future. Women are like latte, softy, big fuzzy slippers. Right? And you all know it's true. That's always like the purchasing habits. But somehow it magically changes when we get to voting, except it doesn't, because there's a guy running around the streets with a leg that he's eating.